Hi, my name's Jessica Wrobleski, and I am an associate of the Congregation of St. Joseph, currently living in Cleveland. I'm honored to join you here today to share a few personal reflections on the season of Advent as we begin this season. So I grew up in West Virginia and always experienced a really deep connection to the natural world. It's actually something that was part of what drew me to the Congregation of St. Joseph. And when I was younger, I really struggled with a kind of seasonal affective disorder around this time of year. As the last leaves fall from the trees and the cold really starts to settle in, the world just feels gray and cold and dark. And I always experienced a kind of dread and even depression thinking about the winter to come. I still feel this to some degree, I can't lie. In fact, I think I feel the cold in my bones a little bit more in ways that I didn't when I was younger. But my experience has changed as I've gotten older and paid closer attention to this Advent season and to the recent readings that we're offered. I've come to appreciate how the season of Advent is more than a chocolate calendar countdown to Christmas. But a time when we as people of God lean into our longing with faith that the darkness and suffering of this world are not the last word. I've come to see that the season of earth, the darkness and dreariness, the bareness and coldness themselves, are a kind of sacrament of that longing. The earth itself participates in our Advent vigil as we wait with joyful hope for the salvation of our God. I think it's important to note that the readings for this semester for this season are not primarily about Mary and Joseph and the nativity story, but about the promises that continue to speak to our times and our ongoing hope for the healing and salvation of our world. In the gospel for this coming Sunday, we hear John the Baptist proclaiming the prophetic message of Isaiah. He says, "Prepare the way of the Lord, make straight his paths. Every valley shall be filled, every mountain and hill shall be made low. The winding roads shall be made straight, and the rough ways made smooth, and all flesh shall see the salvation of God." In the same prophetic spirit as Mary's Magnificat, which occurs several chapters earlier in Luke, this gospel offers us a geological image of the lofty being cast down from their thrones and the lowly being raised up. It's a proclamation that preparing for the coming reign of Christ means transforming oppressive systems and crooked structures and lifting up all who are beaten down by them, including earth. It proclaims that God's salvation is for all flesh, that is, for the entire earth and not just human beings who are included in God's plan of salvation. And so perhaps it's no wonder that the whole earth, at least in the northern hemisphere, participates in this time of waiting for the light and waiting for the warmth of God's coming kingdom. I think that this is an important and noteworthy contrast between preparing for the coming of God's salvation and getting ready for the holidays. In our affluent culture, the latter often looks like eating more, buying more, consuming more, driving more. Whereas preparing for Christ involves repenting of our human arrogance, trying to trim the excess from our lives, and trying to move away from the tendency to see ourselves as the pinnacle of creation. So this Advent, may we prepare for the coming of Christ by lifting up the voices of the lowly and of earth, and maybe by recognizing in our own bodies and our own experience of the natural world this season, our solidarity and our kinship with all creation. So I hope that you can hold these things in mind and have a blessed week to come. And I hope that you'll join us, the Congregation of St. Joseph, next week at the same time for another